We're trained to almost see that we have a darkness and a light inside of us, and then we're in the middle. I tend to see humans as light who have darkness. I'm trying to get you to the pure humanity of you.
We accept easier what we're bad at than living in the confidence of what we're good at. The things that break down in our lives, the toxic traits, it's harder for us to live with confidence in the things that we're actually great at.
I think sometimes we think, oh, I wish I was superhuman. I go, no, you just need to wish to be human, because when you're human, you are a beautiful thing.
You're listening to the Mind Shift podcast. My name is Erwin McManus, and I'm here with my dad, Erwin McManus, for our last episode of the year. So the beginning of this episode, we talk about conspiracies and the drones happening in New Jersey, but really most of this episode is talking about the 7 frequencies and the shadow side of the 7 frequencies. It's something that we're very excited about, and like the living and breathing reality of the data and the information and the vocabulary you've really given us as a community for this podcast or the arena or whatever it may be. But so if you're listening to this episode, bear with us and laugh a little bit. This is part of like the fun of us doing podcasts.
Yes, we go from drones to tones.
Drones to tones. That's probably the best and worst name of this podcast episode, but we'll do it.
2024 coming to a close.
2024. How long have we been doing this now?
I don't even know how many years we've been doing this.
We started Battle Ready in 2017.
Is that when? Was it before the pandemic?
Dad, we've been doing Battle Ready we've been doing Battle Ready for like 5, 6 years.
You know, I have no sense of chronology.
No, I know. Only because the only reason I remember is because we started Venice end of 2016 and we were doing Battle Readies. We were doing the
That's
once
right.
a week
We started
things.
Battle Ready after I had cancer. So yeah, we're a decade kind of in almost.
We are.
7 years, 8 years?
Almost 7 or 8 years of doing a podcast format. But really during COVID is when we went week to week.
Yeah.
And then at one point we were doing twice a week. And that was
crazy.
That was crazy, but we didn't have a whole lot else going on because of the pandemic. So we took our time.
There's so many things going on, and we could just pick so many topics, like what is happening with the drones?
What is happening?
Come on.
You were not giving me the attention I needed last night when I was watching TikTok and going, Dad, could this be aliens?
I was trying to watch all the different news clips, but I didn't want to get sucked in by fake news, because this is the perfect scenario to get duped, right? To have someone create through AI flying saucers and aliens landing, and it's a bizarre enough story without creating conspiracy theories, without creating what we don't know. What we know is crazy.
What we know, but doesn't it feel fake? It feels like because I still haven't talked to anyone who's been on the ground seeing it, right? So I don't know anyone who's seen it for themselves. I just know that people are seeing it on TikTok and on Instagram, and now it's on the news. But we know the news is the worst place to look at for factual things going on in the world.
Well, what really concerns me is when you have the White House saying things like, there's nothing unusual happening, we're not concerned, it's not a threat. Because when someone says it's not a threat, it means that they have more information than they're telling.
Right.
And because it's not a threat because they know it's not a threat, so they know what's going on, and they're not telling us what's going on. So then I go, if it's not a threat, tell us what's going on. Like, give us the back data that helped you know it's not a threat. Or it is a threat, and they don't want us to be worried. And then when they say, well, it's not our drones, they're not U.S. drones, then I went, well, then how do you know that? How do you know they're not U.S. drones?
There's something that has happened. Something has to have happened for them to have understood that they're not U.S. drones. But that's an easy sidestep. They could be a contractor's drones. They could be Tesla's drones or SpaceX's drones. We really don't know. And that's the unique thing. But for me, I'm thinking, I'm starting to, last night when I was texting you and I'm going, wait, you're seeing the same thing too, right?
Right.
Because I'm thinking now, am I just living in some alternative reality or experiencing some kind of TikTok thread that the media 100% fabricated or dramatized and over-exaggerated the heaviness of COVID to some degree, right?
Yes, of course.
People passed away, people died of something. We understand that. But the facts of how that was coming into fruition, that's what I feel like was over-dramatized.
Yeah, even, do you remember the CNN death clock? Like it kept
The
posting
death
every
toll,
single
the death
person who
toll.
died. And then one day they took it down.
And then the next day we knew that wasn't right. That wasn't true. They were inflating those numbers.
But on top of that, though, is like, when do you decide to stop counting how many people are dying of something? Right? My whole point is agreeing with you that you have to filter what you're getting from the media, because it's crazy. Even like
no, hold on. I want to stay there for a second.
Yeah.
The death toll countdown or uptick clock,
Yeah.
counting clock, was in direct correlation for how long they wanted us to stay afraid.
Yes.
So they kept it up because that was the parameters of fear. And when they took it down,
there's always an intention.
there's always an intention.
That's my whole point. I don't know what this drone thing is.
Right. No, I understand.
But somebody's doing something, and somebody knows something they're not telling. And I don't know what that is, but I'm very, very curious. I'm wondering if my people have finally arrived on Earth, and if we're now going to
I think you make that
reveal
joke
ourselves.
thinking it's funny. But I also think it's not funny because there is obviously something happening, right?
Yeah.
And we've had drone technology for a long time, much longer. If you can buy it in a Walmart, we've had it for much longer than we've understood and realized, right? Yeah. If you can buy a drone to shoot camera footage, like there's a company called DJI, you can get it at the Apple Store. Those have been around for a long time, right? Yeah. Our videographers on a pro-consumer level have drones. It's a common thing. Yeah. So, but the fact that these are drones that are extra large, the size of is potentially like they could be manned or unmanned, and then they're flying within some kind of synchronicity. Like, I just don't even know what to believe.
But if you could step back on the communication level, I'm trying to pay attention to the nuances of the words, because I remember when, I think it was the FBI, and we can look this up, but when the FBI said that they did not have special agents in the January 6th intrusion into the White House.
Right.
And so they said, we have no special agents. We were not aware of any special agents. We have none of them. Now we know there are like 20-something, but they were, quote, not special agents. They were special recruits. They used a different word. And what they're being asked is, do you have employees in that group, in the mob, breaking into the White House, going into restricted areas? And the answer was no, but the way they were able to say no was they changed the word. So they're technically not lying. It's like me, if you asked me...
I don't think you really even need to explain it, because I think everyone has experienced someone who has, whether it's gaslighting, manipulated, lied, or falsified evidence. I remember being in a conversation one time and addressing someone and saying, "You're actually lying about this. I don't lie. I only white lie." We reduce the maybe the consequence or the crime based on our projection or insertion of its inherent value. Yeah. But the truth is the meter. So
it's like, are you answering the question I'm asking, or are you purposely forming language so that you can lie without telling me the truth, but it sounds like the truth? So when I listen to the drone thing and they say these are not U.S. military, I'm going, okay, but does that mean they didn't contract it out with Boeing
or Blackwater
or SpaceX and so they're claiming plausible deniability by being 1 degree off? But what we're really asking is this something you financed?
Do you know? I don't even know if we're asking that. We're going,
do you know
what's going on?
Yeah.
One thing I've realized in 2024 is we do not know what's going on.
No. Isn't that, I don't know why, it's weird. I was about to say, isn't that exciting and thrilling?
No, it's terrifying and unsettling, discomforting.
And I just love the fact, this is terrible to say, I love the fact that there is so much technology that we're unaware of that exists, that in 5 to 10 years will become normative. And because I remember when you were younger and I first started going to TED, before it was a public domain kind of experience.
Yes, we all know you've been to TED before anyone else knew what TED was. We understand this.
But I would come home and say, this already exists. This already exists. And
I mean, the robo-dogs.
Yeah.
I remember you showing me that in 2009.
I'm going, hey, we already have this capacity.
The drone hummingbirds
Yeah.
that were flying in synchronicity that were like the size of your palm. I remember you showing me that.
Yeah. So then when you watch these sci-fi or special ops movies,
Right.
where the little hummingbird goes in and kills the guy,
Yeah.
you know, we think those are just things that directors or writers are imagining, but those are things that actually were already existing.
Absolutely.
And so I know without any shadow of a doubt, there are things that our government denies exist that absolutely exist and are operative somewhere in the world. There's
Okay.
no question.
Before we go down this slippery slope that I love,
We're
that
gonna
I
end
call
the year on
home,
conspiracies. Merry Christmas.
This is our Christmas episode of all the conspiracies. One, I just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody who's listening. We celebrate Christmas, and whether you celebrate Hanukkah or whatever it may be, if it's just holidays to you, I'm gonna invite you to come to the best side, which is the Christmas side. It was really fun though, because a few of my Jewish friends who celebrate Hanukkah, they're like, yeah, but we have a Christmas tree in our room. I'm like, yeah, you should, because it's just a
Here's a
fun
conspiracy. If you say Happy Holidays, does Christmas still exist? Yes.
Yes. Not even Jill Biden can take Christmas from America. What?
It was Kamala who said, "How dare you say Merry Christmas?"
I know, but did you see the clip with Jill and the kid corrected her?
No.
She said Happy Holidays, and some kid said Merry Christmas, and she said that too, because a liberal will be whatever she needs to be to get the job done.
Hey, I'm on behalf of liberals. Liberals also believe in Jesus and say Merry Christmas.
On behalf of all. I don't want to even make this political. I'm just running my mouth. And this is what you talked to me in New York. You really taught me, or you're working on helping me understand how to be more inclusive of other people's opinions and thought patterns.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not there yet. So for the end of 2024, no, have a Merry Christmas. And honestly, we're so grateful that we get to have fun doing this podcast with everybody else. And if there's anything I want to reflect back in 2024 was that this was something that was so consistent and that we really tried to get out almost every single week. I know we missed a few weeks here and there, but this podcast means so much to me, and I really think it matters, and I find it really important, and I'm really grateful that you do it with me. So thank you so much for spending a few hours each week to dig into these things.
Man, I love doing this with you. I love the people who join us and listen. One of the things, sometimes you want privacy, but you know what I love? I love when I travel the world and people come up to me and say, I listen to Mind Shift. I'm a huge fan. And you can interrupt me anywhere in the world if you listen to Mind Shift. Come up and say hi, because we just love you. We love our audience and the people who join us and do this with us. And I just really appreciate how you just always ask good questions, hard questions, and I'm learning. I'm going to get better at asking you questions. It's going to be one of my goals for 2025 is to not just bring answers, but bring questions to this room. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun for us.
If you're listening to this podcast, we don't do ads on this pod. We only talk about the projects we care about and the projects we're working on. And for some of you, you probably hate it. But for others, you access all the things that we do. You've bought the book, The 7 Frequencies of Communication. You've done the assessment. Maybe you were part of the original book, Mind Shift, that you released almost, is it a year ago, a year and 2 months ago?
Mind Shift would be
October last year.
Yep.
Yeah. And some of you,
October,
sorry, go.
A year ago, October.
Yeah. 2023.
Yes.
Yeah. And then some of you are part of our Arena community. Shout out to the Arena members that are all over the world who make up our community called the Arena, where we focus on communication coaching, leadership coaching, and character coaching. And we focus on those 3 pillars, and we built this beautiful community where we have a conference every October. And this next year, we're doing something really, really exciting with Brendan Bouchard.
Yeah, and if you've not joined the Arena and you're an entrepreneur, a leader, a business person, a pastor who really spends your life investing in people, you should join the Arena. Invest in yourself. It's just a space for accelerated growth. And one of the really beautiful things that's come out of this space with us has been this relationship, this friendship with Brendan Bouchard. And next year, we will be doing a monthly event together.
Yes.
And he will bring 2 hours of some of his best teaching. I'll bring maybe 2 hours of my best teaching. And then we'll interact and do stuff together, I'm gonna next time you're gonna have to jump in on the mind shift with us and really ask piercing questions, have some fun. Then we open it up to the room.
Yeah.
We invite you to come join us live. There's a nominal fee for that.
Yeah.
But
it's pretty amazing. Like this is where we're talking about our projects, but guys, and this is as salesy as we get, because we're so not salespeople, but we do like creating things. And then a part about creating things is talking about things.
Yeah.
So
I don't feel like this is a sell. This is an invitation.
It is an invitation, because honestly, this last year has changed my life in a way. It's been the hardest year. 2024 has been the hardest year of my life. And it was hard. There was lots of health things, lots of work things. You know, there was a moment where I genuinely thought I was gonna have to go work for Matt Pagan at Pagan Construction. And that's not even a joke. I called him and said, hey man, would Bob hire me if this thing falls apart because of health stuff and XYZ, and because we love doing it, but obviously we're a team. And so the arena is amazing because we do this weekly call every Monday, 10 a.m. and you get all the access to all the content of those calls. You get access to all of our IP and the content we create together, and so many of your ideas, which is amazing. So like the art of communication, that's where that lives. 7 frequencies of communication started from a masterclass, now turned into a book that lives on our back end of the arena. You get access to all the conferences. So now it's about 30 different speakers, from Jerry Lorenzo to Brennan Bouchard to all these amazing people that you get access to. So there's just a lot there. And then this book and this assessment. And then now we're already like for the last month, we've been talking about where we're going in 2025. And so I'm very excited I feel like I wasn't even ready to start processing what we're going to do next year, but as like this trip to New York really excited me. And so I cannot wait to get back to the drawing board to start innovating all the things that we're going to do.
Man, this is such an exciting time. I feel like 2024, by the way, 2024 has been one of the hardest years of my life.
You too.
I just had to deal with so much stuff and multiple surgeries, multiple injuries. Just really debilitating moments along the year. At the same time, it was one of the most generative and productive years of my life. And it's just been really a fascinating journey to see all that has come out of this year. And I feel like it's been so foundational for 2025. I'm very, very excited about the future. Even like when we're talking about this monthly event with Brendan, we have both Brendan and I have friends in the business world. Whether it's like an Ed Milet or Patrick Lencioni and all these guys who
like are top tier performers,
and they do one-day events, and people are I think it's like $10,000, $15,000 to be a part of it. And Brendan and I are doing this, and we're basically making it incredibly accessible to everyone, a couple $100. And
it's $199, which is gonna have to change at some point because it's too cheap. We kept it at around 100 people for the first one, so we could really figure out what this is.
Yeah, and my point in this is that I've had times in my life where I felt like, I wish I could access this, or I wish I was in the financial place I could do this. But sometimes it's people go, I wish I could make time for it. And really, if you are committed to scaling your life, like it's not accidental that some people grow and other people do not grow. The people who grow, they make time, they make a way. I could never afford TED. I just did it. I had to cut out a week of my life every year, sometimes twice a year, and I did it. Because when you care about growing, and you care about breaking the limitations in your life, you care about removing your ceiling, you find a way to make the sacrifices to get what you need. And if people are structured like me, this is one of the things I discovered even as I was going through these different assessments. I feel guilty whenever I do something for me. I love doing things for other people, but I feel incredibly guilty doing things for me. But I'm grateful that at least in the learning model, I didn't feel guilty.
Yeah.
I just decided I need to grow and I need to learn. I need to become the optimal version of me to help other people. And that's why I'm going, this year find a way to get to LA and come to these experiences with Brendan live. This year, find a way to join the arena and be part of this community. Like this year, find the places.
Find the few days to read this book, to take the assessment, and pick one person or two people to do it with. Because the mind shift you can read on your own.
Yeah.
I think mind shift's great when you give it to all your boys, your crew. Like we did have like a little running club that's like a few guys, and we talk through each chapter. This one's just like, I have sent this book, and I send this book out more than anything in the world. Like, it's so fun. Like last night, literally, I fell asleep on the couch at 9 p.m. and I wake up to a FaceTime from my friend Duda in Miami, and she's like, I don't agree with this. And she's very Miami. She's like, I don't agree with this. And I was like, what are your things? And she said, I'm airing her out. But she said healer, and then it was it was a motivator, healer, seer. She's one of the most creative, visionary individuals I've ever met. So the seer made sense. She goes, I make sense with that. I resonate with that. And I was like, go look at your shadows. Read, because she's reading the book. So I said, read shadows, then talk to me on whether you agree or don't. And she goes, my bad, I agree.
Why is it that so many people are responding saying, I didn't know if it was me until I read the shadows?
I think because we have a society, and maybe it's just maybe it's our natural human intrinsics, and so I'm going to let you answer that part. But I think we are so much more familiar with what we're bad at than what we're good at. I think it's harder for us to live with confidence in the things that we're actually great at, our strengths. And so I think when we are defined by our strengths, with the 7 frequencies of communication really does give you your frequencies, your positive frequencies, and then you understand your shadows. And so I think for some people, we're so much more aware of the things that break down in our lives, the toxic traits, than we are the things that we're so good at.
Yeah. You just gave me an insight.
Oh, thank goodness.
I think, building on that, it's hard for us to see our frequencies because they are our natural selves. But it's easy to see our shadows because they are our unnatural selves. Because even when we're in our shadows, we know this is not who we're supposed to be. But when we're actually operating in our healthy, natural frequencies, the light of our frequencies, it doesn't feel like anything. It just feels like us. So I think your friend who could see her 3rd frequency, Seer, could see that one because that one operationally takes more work for her to draw out. So she doesn't have to work at being a motivator. It just flows. When she's not thinking, she's a motivator.
Like literally her catchphrase in text is dale.
Dale?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
But she's not a motivator.
She's not a motivator. And I like laugh because I'm like, everything is always dale, 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 dale. And I'm like, dude, it's always let's go, let's go, let's go. How are you not a motivator? On the phone right now, you're saying, you got this, you got this, you got this. And she literally was pausing and was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna go finish the book now. It was like a 1 minute FaceTime.
And probably right after that motivator, her natural relationship to people is as a healer. Yeah. And she cares about people, wants them to feel safe, sees their wounding, wants them, to grow from it.
Well, I was like, her friend went through, and I'm oversharing a little bit, but I think she'd appreciate this. Her friend, one of her best friends, went through cancer and chemo treatment. One miracle. She's already beginning the remission process. So the chemo worked. But I remember her telling me this and sharing this with me. And it's almost as if she was going through it herself.
Yeah.
And so when she brought up, she was like, but how am I a healer? I said, are you kidding me? Look at what happened with our friend. You wanted to shave your head because she had to shave her head. You wanted to experience everything so that you could help relieve and maybe just associate and just lighten her burden. So of course you're a healer. If you could have given her your health, you would have.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but most naturally you're a seer because you have this amazing creative company, So like that's what the world sees, but the first two are actually what everybody else is.
Yeah. I think there's a transition in the frequencies.
Okay.
From the frequencies you are to the frequencies you have. And the ones that are hardest to see are the ones you are. And the ones that are more easily seen are the ones that you have because you access them. And, because I really do believe that when you move toward your highest level of actualization, that you can access all 7 of them in some way, minimally 5.
Yes. That's what we found, right?
Yeah.
That high-level communicators exist within 5, and they can access the other 2. They're just not as natural for them.
And my number 7 is command.
But I've seen you in scenarios where you can definitely use command.
Yeah. But whenever I use command, I'm choosing to use command. Whenever I'm using my Maven frequency, I'm just being me. Because Maven is a frequency I am, but command is a frequency I have. And so I access it. And I think that's a part of the dynamic. And I didn't write about that in the book, so that's interesting.
It's a great nuance that Jacob behind the scenes is going to clip for us and remind me and Austin to get you to talk about in a longer format.
Again, this is a living document. It is the beginning of a universe of human communication that we're exploring, discovering, and in many ways unwrapping. It's almost, they're not things I'm inventing, they're things I'm discovering. Because when people ask me the question, funny questions like, "Hey, who invented fire?" Well, God invented fire. We discovered how to harness it. We didn't invent fire. We did not invent electricity. Like Edison did not invent electricity. He invented the light bulb that learned how to harness electricity. And so in a very real sense, like we did not invent these 7 frequencies. We're inventing the light bulb that allows you to see them and turn them on.
And that's why the 5 elements of communication is so important. I think...
Not the 7?
Well, no, this is why, right? Because the 5 elements are a part of the art of communication that we did.
Oh, the 5 elements.
Yes,
yeah.
Because you talk about aha moments. And actually someone commented on one of your most recent clips that Jacob posted over the weekend. And she said, this is my realization. I'm having my aha moment. And I actually don't think she's a part of Art of Comms. Wow. She just used that naturally. But in the 5 elements, you talk about the Art of Comm is, for people who don't know, I don't expect anyone to know. So, but if you're listening, the art of communication is broken down into the 5 elements of communication, the 3 human intrinsics, and then we have a little bit of a communicator's toolbox. Right. And what we realized is that the 7 frequencies was kind of that true 3rd installment of Art of Comm, because it was the 3 human intrinsics, the 5 elements, and the 7 frequencies.
I never saw it quite like that. It's very cool.
Oh, are you kidding me? The greatest part of my job is that I get to live inside of your imagination and just break things and play with things. But you talk about it in the elements about the importance of being able to communicate with these aha moments where the light bulb turns on. That's the aha moment. But the aha moment with these frequencies, there's what I love about this book and the aha moment that I continually keep having is that books tend to be things that are dead. Yeah. You put them onto paper and then it stops living. And maybe the world will pick it up and it'll find a new life and it'll turn into a movie series that'll live on a what used to live on a DVD, or now it'll live in the cloud and you get to watch it at Christmas like I do with Harry Potter every year, But with this book, we really came out the gate with, this is a living and breathing organism. We reserve the right to change our minds. We will continually refine things, and you were refining things up until the week it was published. Yeah. To the week it was locked in for the printing, right? Right. And we talked about this with like rules of publishing house versus being in the author space. And I think that's the beauty, right? Is the reason why we set out to build a publishing print house is that we wanted to reduce that systematic like what is it, like subset of rules of like you can't change anything once it's locked. No, the point of this is, and that I hope that in some world we'll create some kind of subculture, sublore where people have collected every single one of the editions, because each edition has new insights. Right. Like I want this to live and breathe as if this thing is growing consistently. I want in 100, 200 years from now, people going, do you have the 7 editions of the 7 frequencies? Because they evolved and they grew and they continually transformed. Like we know the Shadows chapter deserves its own book.
Yeah, the Shadows are coming.
And every friend that I give the book to, I say, this sounds crazy, but they do this with every Bible I give away. The frequencies I say start with the shadows, not because I want you to focus on the dark side of you, but I think because society and humanity in your life has reminded you about all the things that went wrong. all the brokenness that lives inside of you.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the easiest way for you to buy into the understanding of these concepts. And then from there, you embark on a new journey of re-understanding, not the positive frequencies, because we've talked a lot about this. What's the verbiage in language? We have shadows and we have frequencies.
Yeah.
But our natural frequencies, I think we believe, and it's an ideological mindset, that humans are built to produce beautiful and creative,
Yeah.
truthful things. So when we step outside of our humanity and understand that, we have the shadows.
Yeah.
But when we're living our fullest selves in our most beautiful humanity, we understand that these frequencies are the natural transmission of the things that are living inside of us.
Yep.
And so I'm excited about the shadows because I actually think it's going to be one of the most beautiful books you ever write.
It's going to be interesting. And yeah, I think that internally, I don't see humans the way I think we're trained to see humans. We're trained to almost see that we have a dark side and a light side. Like there's a darkness and a light inside of us, and then we're in the middle. And then we're accessing the light or the darkness. I tend to see humans as light who have darkness. And so I'm not trying to get you to the far right of your journey. I'm trying to get you to the pure humanity of you. So that's why I don't really have a word for the positive frequency or the light frequency or the good frequency, because I go, no, that's the human frequency. And then in a sense, we have the subhuman or inhumane frequency.
I mean, I love that. It shows me, because this is a conversation we had a few weeks ago. And so like when you're reading this book, we're reading this book. We're consistently rereading this book and redefining this book and re-understanding this book. You were not a part of, you were actually a part of a case study. You're part of like an anthropological discovery, a psychological maybe resurfacing of something that I think has existed within all of us for so long. And now what you said, you're harnessing something that's already there.
Yeah.
I find your ideological perspective to be really unique, because when we talked about this a few weeks ago, it really helped me understand and see how you see the world. Because you kept being like, we kept talking about this. We're like, we have to find, like, when we're gonna build a certification program where we train coaches to walk people through an enterprise level version of the 7 frequencies of communication.
Yes.
Because this is something we believe you should do with others.
But we want you to be a world-class coach.
Yes.
And so we're going to be very, very tight in the first phases of this and only certify people who really can coach at a deep and authentic and transformative level.
Yeah.
And so we'd rather have a few people with super high quality than a lot of people with low quality in this process.
And so, but as we're kind of forcing ourselves to make choices.
Yeah.
And so one of the choices we had made in the moment was, what are the words around the opposite of the shadow? And you didn't, and I said light, because that's the obvious choice. Yeah. And you said no. It's too obvious. And then I think we settled on there are frequencies and then there's shadows. Yeah, because
this is what it looks like to be human. And I think that's sometimes a really challenging thing to go, see, I believe that human beings are created in the image and likeness of God. And when humans are operating out of their humanity, it's a beautiful thing. And, I think sometimes we think, oh, I wish I was superhuman. And we go, no, you just need to wish to be human. Because when you're human, you are a beautiful thing. And you are a reflection of the image of God. And you can't ask for more than that. You can't ask for more than that. And it's only when we're in our shadows that we become a lesser version of ourselves. And so I feel so excited, because I also know that, because people have asked me, how do I fix my frequency? How do I get out of my shadow? And I think in fact, someone asked, do you have a process? And we don't have it written down yet. And we do have a process, but that's what's interesting to me is the process to move out of a negative frequency cannot happen without a process to get you out of your negative self. And so your shadow and your self is connected. You cannot change your shadow if you don't want to change yourself. And the process of changing that shadow is an internal transformation of self.
That's an incredible answer that we have to, I want you to keep talking about it, but more than anything, I want other people to be leaning in the way that I am wondering I need you to keep going. I need you to keep going. So I mean, we even just talked about what we're going to write for the next book.
Yeah.
So maybe we have to figure something out there on how this is what happens. And this is why Austin always wants to be in these rooms, because we end up making everything more complicated. We got to find a way for people to pre-order the Shadows or figure out. I don't know. We'll figure that out after this podcast.
Let's I love
What?
Well, one, I just took this really great assessment, and
Okay.
it gives you all these numbers on like 46 different data points. And I had 2 data points that didn't have numbers. And so I asked the specialist who took me through it, I said, I only noticed one of them. I said, why is there no number on this data point? And he goes, because you scored outside of the data. And that was on imagination. He said, your imagination score was literally off the chart. So there's no number. But I noticed this morning when I was reflecting and reviewing it that I had another one that had no numerical value.
Oh, interesting.
And it was action.
Oh.
And he told me that my propensity toward action is so high, it was off the scale. And so it doesn't surprise me that we're sitting here in Mindshift talking about what we're going to do next, because really our organization is at this intersection of imagination and action. And when people start coming and saying we need this, we just move. And so we should go ahead and create a cover and begin to pre-sell the shadow frequencies.
Austin's going to be so mad.
And,
because this is not planned.
Because I can feel the action already.
Yeah.
And this is happening as we're experiencing it right now.
Oh.
And so now I know what I need to do next.
What is it?
I need to write the shadow frequencies. And because when people are diving into the 7 frequencies, it becomes their most important conversation. And my whole goal in this isn't to help people be better communicators, but to help people make deeper human connections. And if you can learn how to make deeper human connections, you're going to learn how to be a great communicator. And so I'm excited, and I want to help people get out of the gravitational pull of their shadow self, so that we as human beings can live in the light that we're designed to live in.
We did an arena call this morning, and so many people were very emotional.
Yeah.
Right? People who are in the corporate world, who are entrepreneurs, business leaders. We have everything. We have the broke college student to the millionaire, billionaire, entrepreneur, architect, consultant, coaching, pastor, preacher, entertainer. Like, we have all of it. This is not a Christian community. It's a community based with real people who are having real conversations and questions. And most of the time we talk about a specific topic for 30 minutes. You'll open us up, and then we'll do 30 minutes to 45 minutes of Q&A where we open it up to the community. But we knew that this one was gonna, and for the most part, the questions stick pretty consistent with the calls. But there'll always be times where people are like, "Hey, can I just ask a personal question of what's going on in my life, situational?" And for the most part, I'll try to shut all of those down. But we really do, especially when we have time. We start addressing those personal questions. And today I was overwhelmed with the sense that people were excited, but also exhausted. Yeah. And even some people just maybe at the point where they just really can't prepare for what's going to happen in the holidays with their families or work and XYZ. And so, I find those communities, those spaces to be so, so important that I don't know if in humanity we have enough of those places where we can sit inside of like a communication sauna and sweat together and really go through like a transformational journey and break down human things divided into communication, into humanity, into character, into leadership, and really keep exposing ourselves to like new language and vocabulary, things like this. So thank you for creating a space. The end of this episode, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for hanging in there with us in 2024. Thank you for praying with us, for believing with us, for being there, for asking big questions, for giving great critique, and for more than anything, sharing this with your friends. I just can't thank the people enough. Like, I think people spoke. We've sold out of this book multiple times in 1 month. And I just like, that's the power of, I think, this channel, this podcast, this space, is that I think we're talking about big ideas, and then when we put them into work and into fruition, into a physical property and a product, like the ideas spread. Like this was an idea worth spreading.
Yeah.
Like I'm proud of you. That's huge, man. You created something no one else could see.
Well, it's our team who's helped it spread across the world.
No, just take it.
Thank you.
Just say thank you. Okay, perfect. Now you can thank everybody else.
2025, here we come. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Let's begin the new year with so much courage and optimism and hope, fueled by love. Let's go.
And if you're listening to this podcast and you're driving home, or you're getting on a plane, or you're walking across the street, or you're stuck hiding in a closet, avoiding everyone in your family, it's going to be okay. I promise. It's going to be okay. Just get through it. And we'll see you guys in the new year, and we can all complain about all of our Christmases with each other and celebrate what we're going to do in 2025.
All right. Here we go.
All right.
Love you, bud.
Love you too.